Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversation. Today we have Mrs. Jeeva Shaheelan. She's a mother of three, a businesswoman, and interested in homeopathy. So we are going to talk about various aspects. Let's start welcoming her to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure here.
Yeah, it is interesting to know like how you balance things because you have three kids and running a business like that. I mean, pretty much 9 to 5 or even outside hours, isn't it? It goes beyond 9 to 5, and it is an education business. Normally, institutions like big institutions actually involved in education business, but then you're doing a franchise. So let's hear from you. What is this business about, and when did you actually start? When it all happened?
Okay, the business started about 10 years ago. I was a student at Pittman to start with, and my husband was looking for an office, and then we came to know that Pittman franchise is going to be sold, so we took over the place, and it's basically my husband's inspiration. He said, even if you could make as little as possible, I don't care, just be there and see what you can do. So that gave me a push to do it. And each time when I see a student walk in with a vision of what they want to do in their life, and I'm be so glad I'll be part of that to help them to achieve their goals. So that's more like how it started.
This gives you the opportunity to bring in new businesses, new people come in. So is it easy to set up multiple locations, or you are actually bound to one area?
There you can go into multiple locations, yes. However, it is a territorial based, so you need to really see whether any other franchise are around that territory.
So in a way it's protected, so it's not going to be multiple people opening up, the competition is not going to be high, it's protected in a way where your client base is yours. True,
but at the same time, if a student wants to go into another place, like they are working somewhere and living somewhere, the closest option.
So these kind of courses, there is kind of thinking process going on among people saying, oh, these are all obsolete, like these kind of courses like secretarial courses or computer courses are all non-existent anymore. But it seems that there is a big demand. Are you seeing a rise in this demand?
I would say yes. The answer would be yes. Everybody think nowadays with young ones, they learn computer, they are bringing up their entire life is with computers. So when they come to a certain age, they know everything. But that's not true in my humble opinion. It's simple because when you're in school life, you only use a certain amount of the software element of it. Whereas when you go into a workplace, you need to use it more thoroughly and quickly and more wider range of softwares. So it would be ideal for anybody to come and do a special training on whichever the industry that they want to go and work with. That will give them a good confidence in themselves that they can do the job better.
So it ranges, like how is the age group? Like is it like only youngsters or like people who want to get back to work, or has it got a wide kind of demography in terms of age?
Age range anywhere from 15-year-old to 85-year-old, or even beyond if they want to come and do it.
So
they're more than welcome.
Clients?
Yes, I have an 85-year-old, or had an 85-year-old. He was a cancer patient. See, even then it didn't stop him. He had a last challenge. He wants to learn to type before he passed away. So he came and did the course, and he was alive for another 2 years. And then we heard the sad news, he's no more. But even that person, he given the inspiration for me to do the training, and there is no end for learning.
Any age group, you can learn a lot of new things, and this brings in wide range of qualifications in a time that you can do, isn't it? Because as a mom of 3, you manage to do this course while while you were pursuing other things or working as other things. So how flexible is this?
It's completely flexible in your own way. So if you have only 2 hours a week to come and do the course, that's okay. And if you can manage to do about 10 hours a week, then that's even better. But see whatever is your home routine like, how the kids works. If the kids are going to school, then come when they are going to school. Or if you have an in-law or a parent, somebody who can look after your child, I'm sure nobody will say no. None of the grandparents will say no to have their children.
Yes, definitely, because that's the family structure, isn't it? That helps, everybody helps to bring up the child, as well as you balance things out. So let's move on to another topic, because you're interested in so many aspects. So you talked about homeopathy. Before I go into homeopathy, I wanted to talk about some religious aspects, because before the conversation started, we were talking about Baha'i religion.
True.
And you follow the faith of Baha'i.
Yes.
And can you explain a bit more about, like, what's the concepts? I mean, I don't want the historical facts, but the concepts. And I'm a bit surprised that there's many Tamils, or there are a significant amount of Tamils follow Baha'i religion.
There are. Not just in Sri Lanka, there's plenty of Tamil Baha'is in India as well, and all over the world. Baha'i faith start with a prophet called Baha'u'llah. So founder is Baha'u'llah. So his principle would be, main three principles I love about, would be united of all the religions, and oneness of humankind, and world peace. The uniting the religion element comes up. You need to respect and understand your religion better. In the same way, you need to respect other people's religion as well. If you don't do that, you're not really respecting your own religion, because you don't respect God if you don't respect other people's religion, right? So that would be my main strength of the Baha'i faith. And there's so many elements of it, like it's between you and God. There is no mediator between us. Yeah. So
it's the main temple, or the main I don't know how it's called. It's based I could say the head temple, or whatever it is, based in Israel, right?
Yes. That would be more like a house of worship. We call it as. That is in Israel, in Mount Carmel. Yes. But that's more like a pilgrimage spot.
So it's an organization. It's not a kind of a hierarchy like Vatican, or a hierarchy like other religions. It's kind of more flat, or how does it work?
When it comes to Baha'i faith, there is no priest or somebody who would explain about the religion.
Right.
Every human being have the right to read and understand the faith of Baha'u'llah. And if you can read and understand it, then you don't need somebody else interpreting the faith for you. So there won't be any division in it. Yeah.
So it seems very progressive, but then still we hear there's quite a lot of persecutions in certain parts of the world.
Unfortunately, there are so many Baha'is still in jail in Iran because of the fact they are Baha'is, and they don't have the right to say that they are Baha'is, basically, whereas we all have the privilege to practice the faith that we are in.
It's this, for the viewers' benefit, I actually talked about before we go into a very emotional topic emotional topic to you about homeopathy, because we were talking about homeopathy and how it can be really helpful on various aspects, medical aspects as well as psychological aspects, or in terms of resolving conflicts. Because when did you actually start following or interested in homeopathy?
from the age of 15 onwards, we've been treated homeopathically. So the way that our homeopath...
So this is your whole family?
Yes, the whole family.
So you never actually used allopathy?
We did go to the allopathic doctor to diagnose what our issues is, but then we go back to the homeopath to say this is what's going on, and this is the emotional state I'm in, and things like that, in order to get the right remedy. So the conversation that we and the homeopath have is very interesting. He's not just interested in my headache. He wants to know what time my headache starts and what happened. Did you eat something wrong, or did somebody scold you? And you know, that sort of a thing as well, he asked me. So that part of it was always there, interests me to understand more about the human body and how the mind and our body states works together. And when it comes to I got even more interested is because of my son. He's been diagnosed with an illness called MPS 3. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, excuse me, it's mucopolysaccharidosis. So that is a condition because of genetical reason. And it's a progressive lysosome disorder, it seems. It's a lysosome disorder, progressively affects anybody who has the illness.
So the lysosome, the disorder, mainly it's a hereditary, as well as it affects the nervous system, and it closely related to the neurosystems, isn't
yes, it? You can say that, yes. So that part of it got more interested in to know. I was looking for a cure, because in the allopathic doctors, they said there is no cure for it. So that's one of my main reasons why I went back to homeopathy, to understand how the emotional states affects the body and how I can do something to reverse it or pause his condition.
So this is looking at holistically
yes.
in treatment as well as in general. I know it's a very difficult subject to talk about. So so the homeopathy treatments and homeopathy way of dealing with it. So you have to do a lot of lifestyle changes, isn't it?
Yes, you do have to.
So can you adjust that in the fast-moving Western lifestyle?
If you want a better life for yourself and your family, and don't just stop as us, go beyond us, like our generation to live, then that goes all about the emotions that we carry now. So try to talk and resolve all the emotions that you have now, which is not going to pass down into your gene to the next generations downwards. So if you have any issues between your husband and wife, or brother and sister, or anything, just go and talk to them. Say what you really feel about them. Don't think like what the other person is going to think when I say something.
So this is something that interesting, because normally when allopathy medicines, or when they actually treat, they look at it and the clinical aspects of it. So medical and clinical aspects of it as a mechanism, as the human body. But more and more what you're suggesting is like it's at a holistic with the emotional state, and it's actually coupled. Obviously lots of us know that. But this kind of looking at the whole problem will give you a very good understanding. But then going about it, it's not easy, right? Because if two people are in conflict, how do you really go and address that straight face to face? Because sometimes it's the most difficult thing to do.
I understand it is the most difficult things to do, because we will all think what would be the consequences. What would be the worst thing could happen? Break up? Yeah. So it's going to happen anyway if you don't resolve the problem now. Either it's going to break up the couple, or it's going to break up your own system out, and you're going to end up in hospital. That's not going to do any good for you. It's going to affect your work out, your driving element it out, and it's going to affect in every single element in your life out. So rather than keeping it inside and think about what's the worst, just go to them, and you don't really have to go and barge into them. You can go in a very calm and cool manner and say, yes, I understand your issue is. I understand you don't really agree with me, but however, this is how I feel. And talk to them like a grown-up human being. I know sometimes it's not practical to go and talk as a grown-up when you're really fuming inside. What I do personally, I write things down when I'm really fuming. And when I read it in the next day, it makes so much sense. Something makes so much sense, and something I will laugh at myself, what I written down. That will give me a clear picture of what I need to talk to my husband, or what I need to talk to my in-laws or whatever. Then I go and tell them about it. I know it will hurt them. However, it will, at least they will know how I feel about that particular issue. And I'll come with some form of conclusion, or I will open up my door and say, okay, this is where I stand. You tell me what you're going to do about it. And we will at least come to some form of balance.
So about homeopathy, you said from age of 15, you're following homeopathic medicine.
True.
And is it actually available in NHS now? Because I thought there's a homeopathic section in NHS. Is that correct?
I'm not too sure about it, but there should be now. There is a way to it.
So how do you go about it? So is it completely private in the sense?
I go completely private, yes.
And your family as well?
Yes. In my family, in a sense, mostly me and my brother's family go. My in-laws are still with the allopathic thing, because when you are so used to the doctors, what the doctor says, and when you pray for GPs, whatever they are saying, you don't want to go beyond them. They're like, whatever they say is right. It would be tough for somebody who's so used to the GP element of it to come out of the system and go to homeopath. And the way that you would go and talk with homeopath is you need to be more open about yourself. You need to be truthful to yourself, and you need to analyze your own day-to-day life when you go and talk to them. So even you don't really have to go to the GP, but day-to-day life, just check it, what time, whatever is happening to you, and trace it. You'll be able to figure out what's going wrong.
Yeah, I suppose it's a lifestyle choice that many of us wanted to do, but as you said, when you get used to with the allopathy medicine for years and years, and even like other alternative medicine like Ayurvedic or other medicines, it's very difficult to change. You just stick into it, because something that you were saying earlier, that there is another way of curing things, but whereas we are following just one way, but still there's not much cures coming out, but whereas a lot of complications. In fact, the accusation is always saying we are treating the effects rather than the cause. So let's come before concluding. I know it's a quite emotional thing for you to talk about how you treat your son, and because you're purely going on allopathy you're purely going on homeopathy treatment. And are you still involved in allopathy treatment, or can you actually explain how is it possible to do both in specific in his condition?
In his condition, it's pretty straightforward. It's because there is no treatment there. They said there is no cure for it. So the way that we are treating him is homeopathically. We do go to the GPs. We do go to Great Ormond Street for help. They do keep a close eye on him to see how the disease progress or how his condition progress. However, that gives me a good ground to go to a homeopath and say, this is where I stand and what sort of remedies that I can use it to help him. We tend to go with the food and the lifestyle. So food is a huge life-changing decision that you need to make as a family. It's not just him who can eat. Everybody in the family have to commit to the same food routine. So we don't use any sweets at home or cakes or pastries and things like that. It's all with the fruits and specific fruit and nuts. Yes, kids are fine with that. They don't really need any sugar stuff. It depends on what you give them, isn't it? Mom and dad say yum 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 sweets, then they will go yum 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 sweets. If you go yum 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 fruit, then they will go yum 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 fruit. So
it's the habit, isn't it?
Yes, that's the habit. Yes.
So finally, as concluding remark, what will you say to the parents or people who are struggling to bring up kids and wanted to do a business, because you're successfully running a business for a long time, and what would be your a final concluding remark?
Keep a very close family. Just go and talk to them. Don't leave any small problem turn into a bigger one. Just go and tell them what you feel, how you feel, and why you feel that, and try to solve every single issues out. Once you've done that, they will be all as close as possible to you. That would be the basic ground you need to have. You need the full support of your family in order to take any step, especially if you want to have a family and a business. So if you don't want any of that, if you don't want family at all, I want only my business, then don't commit to any family. Just keep yourself as a business person and you'll be fine. If not, just don't be selfish, be open and understand what other person is saying, listen to them and try to be lenient with them and work as a team.
We were talking about emotional and inspirational topics today. There's another way, work as a team with your family, and how do we set a business while you have a family to look after in difficult situations, and an inspirational discussion with Jeeva. Thank you very much. See you another time. Goodbye.